Everybody, this is DearMamaSal on a beautiful, beautiful day. I mean treacherous. Treacherous because all that snow that we had half melted and then froze. So we know it's dangerous out here. So I'm going to be driving pretty darn carefully. But picture perfect. I mean, the amount of snow is just beautiful. Really, really pretty to see, and especially now that there's blue sky everywhere. So I hope that you can see out of the windows and enjoy some of the scenery. Now I notice that the moisture on my windshield is freezing as I drive, so I'm hoping that my car, the inside of my car, will warm up enough to stop that happening, because that's a little bit disconcerting. And so we got this combination of the sun being out and starting to melt stuff, but also it's still being cold enough to be freezing. Now go figure, the two things are going on at the same time. So that's life, right? Go figure life. Just wanted to thank Nana and Andrea from Berlin for letting me know that they had a problem with yesterday's vlog, that the music underneath it was detracting away from being able to hear what I had to say. So I'm actually took note of that. I'm redoing the vlog for yesterday. I will take it down tonight and then put it back up again without the music, so that that won't be an issue anymore. So not a problem at all. Thank you for letting me know. That's how, you know, I'm not scared to try new things, as you probably know. When I say I'm not scared to try it, there's only one way you're going to find out whether music works or doesn't work, and if it does, where to put it and so forth, and that's to actually do it and then get some idea of how it's working. And so to me, you've got to do it before you can find out whether it works or not. If that makes any sense at all. So I really appreciate the feedback. That's what I love about my team of people. They're just great at giving me the feedback as to what's working and what isn't, and I appreciate it. And you know, sometimes I choose to not do everything everybody wants me to do, obviously, because it's my choice, but it is good stuff to hear, and I appreciate it. So thank you for caring, and thank you for caring enough to let me know. I wanted to carry on talking about this aspect of fear and the things that we fear that cause us to have things going on in our lives that we don't necessarily want to. Now, I think what I'd like to do is to, rather than talk about your fears, talk about mine. And maybe in talking about some of my fears, it'll make sense to you, for those of you who do want to make changes. And the number one thing I want to talk about on this one is, you know, I sort of touched on it yesterday, but I want to make sure you really understand that nobody in the world, no system in the world, no drugs in the world, no whatever, is going to make your life different if you don't want it to. You know, if you're depressed and want to stay depressed, quite honestly, they can give you lots of pills and therapy and all the other things that people give you. And, you know, quite honestly, it'll have little effect on you. Because the base part of you rather likes being vulnerable. It's your, do you know what I mean? It's like, it's your safety place. Now that sounds pretty harsh, but it is in my view, also pretty true. And I've been there, so I know of what I speak. I mean, I'm not saying that, you know, I've never been there. I don't think there's anything worse than people telling me about these things that have never done it. It's like some doctors with some of their procedures on women. It's like, oh, this won't hurt. Yeah, right. When did you last have it done? So to me, it's about, I do know. I've spent a lot of my life in depression, and I choose not to do it anymore. Literally, I choose not to do it anymore. So what was the fear that I had to overcome to get out of being in depression? And part of me would say, well, the fear there was that I would be held accountable. I wouldn't have a crutch to lean on anymore. Oh, well, you know, I can't do that because I'm suffering from depression. Or I can't quit smoking because I'm addicted. Or, well, you got the idea. All the excuses in the world, but the reality is I didn't want to quit smoking. I did not want to quit smoking. I enjoy smoking. And there were a number of issues around it. Number one, it gave me permission to stop and rest. I can see that now. Now that I've quit for a year, I can see that because they're the only, you know, that's one of the only triggers that I've got that's left. It was something to do when I was bored. I know that because over a year later, that is another one of the triggers I still feel. And it gave me time to think, think my way out of confusion. I'm not quite sure what to do here. I need to stop and think. That would be another trigger. The reason I know that is a year later, I still feel that urge. When I want to sit and think about something, then my mind says, oh, I need a cigarette. And I have to remind myself, no, I don't. I need to stop and think. Or I need to check in and find out what it is I still need to do. And that's how I've maintained staying non-smoking. Now, you and I both know that I could take a puff of a cigarette tomorrow and be straight back to smoking again. And I pray to God every day that I will not have a weak moment and do that, because I know one cigarette, one puff, and the slippery slope would be started again. Because that's what I do. I've done it many times before. And as you all know, this is the longest I've ever not smoked, and I'm going to do everything within my power to make sure that I don't go back there. So I have to get really real about what were the things that stopped me quitting before. And as I said, the number one thing was I really didn't want to. Deep down, intellectually, I understood it would be better for me to quit. Right? I'm not stupid. Intellectually, I knew that. It would be better for my health, even though it hasn't necessarily appeared to be. It would be better for my health. It would be better for me socially, because I was now the piranha, if you like. And you know, when I went out and stuff, I was one of the few that still smoked, and judged accordingly. So there were a lot of issues going on that made me sort of look at it and go, okay, this is time to quit now. And quite honestly, the expense of it was really obvious to me. It was costing me a lot of money to smoke. But I had tried over the years absolutely every system they'd ever come out with. You know, pills, patches, what do you call it? Acupuncture, you know, all those things. Whatever they came up with, I tried. And why did none of them work? Well, none of them worked because I wasn't solid. I actually didn't believe that I could. And I don't really mind how you do your stuff, because everybody needs to find their own reason. But I know a couple of you are trying to change things and are also fairly good believers. And so what I wanted to say, for those of you who are believers, that have faith, it's actually a little easier, I think, because you can actually put names to it and it works. I, for one, decided I was going to call cigarettes the devil. And every time I got a craving, I actually said I got a call from the devil. That's how I imagined it. Brum, brum. Hello, I want to take control. And so what I did was I kept saying, you don't get to control me today. Or at this moment, you don't get to control me. And it's not that the cravings stopped. They didn't. I just talked back to them. So I don't mind how you talk back to whatever your issue is, but I do recommend that you talk back to it. I mean, I don't mean out loud, because people think you're really crazy. You noticed how much fog there was in that section. We should be getting bright sunshine and pretty views again any minute now. Anyway, so and again, if I hadn't really decided that's it, I am going to not do this anymore, I would so easily be taking the call from the devil and start smoking again. And as I said, it's a year later and I'm still getting those telephone calls coming in. And I'm still saying I choose not to. I choose to keep control. So let's have a look at some of the things. I want to give 10 out of 10 to Manon, for example, in France, because one of the things Manon had was total overwhelm going on in her bedroom. Now, I know enough about Manon to know that that's not something that she would find easy to even begin tackling, never mind making inroads into it. And I think her example is perhaps an easy one for other people to relate to. It's not about pass and fail. It's about how much do I believe that Manon wants to tidy up her bedroom. A lot. And the reason I believe it a lot is because some weeks she does quite well in tidying, and other weeks not so well, but then she goes back to it again. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's because she goes back to it that I know she really does want to clean up her bedroom. Now, some of us are trying to lose weight. And some of us are not perfect in that. Some of us have tried to lose some, fallen off the wagon and gone back to it again, and then fall off the wagon and go back to it again. You see, as long as you're still going back to it, you're in the process of quitting. I don't care if you haven't shifted a pound. You are in the process of quitting. You're in the process of overcoming this habit. And that's how I want you to look at it, which is, hey, as long as I keep going back, I haven't quit on quitting. They say that's the trick about life, really. doesn't matter what you choose to do in your life. If you think about it, most actors who've made the big time, do you know how many times they got rejected and stomped on, and you're too fat, you're too thin, you're too young, you're too old, you're too this, you're too that, and they just wanted to act, so they kept going back to it. They'd take any role that they could, and some of them live to regret that, but they do whatever it was. They just wanted to be an actor. And then for some, they kept at it long enough to become good at it. I can remember once saying to somebody that my biggest fear in life when I was a professional speaker was that people might find out I didn't know what I was talking about. And I wonder if any of you relate to that, you know. And it was so wonderful. I came across somebody that knew me quite well, and they stopped me dead in my tracks one day and said, you know, I don't know why you say that, because it's so untrue. And I said, what do you mean it's so untrue? And they said, you know, you've been practicing this for so long, you know, it's become experience. You actually do know what you're talking about. And that actually quite shocked me, because I could feel in my gut that that was a true statement. I could no longer say that I was, that I didn't know what I was talking about. I actually did. And so I look at these things that we fear and think it's not enough to want to change, right? Do you get what I'm saying? Because it's like my saying, oh, I want Brad Pitt. Well, yeah, I can say that. It's not going to get me Brad Pitt. Nothing in the world's going to get me Brad Pitt. But, you know, it's like, you know, it's not, wanting it is not the answer. I wanted to quit smoking for decades. That wasn't going to stop me smoking. And you've heard me say time and time again, you know, you don't think your way out of depression, you have to do your way out. Well, you have to do your way out of changing any habit or overcoming any addiction. You have to do your way out. Thinking about it will never, ever cause change. So I go back to what we learned from supporting Leslie. And I want you to understand the psychology of the little part that we played in that, because in our own way we did play a part in it. So what did we do? We encouraged Leslie to see forward. We asked her what quitting would look like to her, what would bring her, what, you know, and she said freedom, if you remember. And then we found out what little step was possible. You know, we kept asking until we found out, oh gosh, she was even terrified to sit in front of an open door, never mind go through it. And so the first challenge that we fed her was to open the door and stand there, far away as she needed to, but to be able to look at an open door. You know, and then slowly we fed in, you know, to step through the open door and so forth until she walked outside. And then, but each one of those steps was a very small step. And then we celebrated each little success. We made a really big deal of each little success. We had to teach Leslie to give herself credit for each step that she took. Because we knew the courage that it took to take each one of those steps. The courage that it took to overcome each one of those fears. And the truth is, she had to continue to overcome her fear of each step to get to the next step. In other words, she had to overcome her fear of taking a step through the door before she could take 2 steps outside the door. Now, if she takes enough steps through the door, she will no longer fear it. And she did that. Now, does she still fear it? Probably to some degree. And by the way, could it be the excuse that she needs anytime she doesn't want to go through the door? Oh, I'm sorry, my fear has come back. That'll stop her going through the door immediately. She just has to even say those words, and it will stop her going through the door. So we know that Leslie not only took those steps, but she continues to program herself to take them. And the reason we know that is because she continues to go outside. So overcoming a fear takes, obviously, intent. You have to have a goal. It also takes that you repeat the intent. You have to keep doing it. And you have to keep rewarding yourself as well in a positive way. And then you have to keep challenging yourself to take the next little step. And that's what anybody does that is successful. They take small steps towards what it is they want to achieve. And so I want to go back to where I started today, which is putting on the music onto the videos. I want to tell you I've had all sorts of problems, because the first time I put the music on, then YouTube complained because I had music on the video, and they thought I was contravening some copyright. And that really frustrated me, because it was non-copyright music that they personally had supplied. So go figure. You can imagine how angry I was. Now, was getting angry going to fix the problem? No. So then I had a choice. It's called a crisis of commitment. I think I've spoken about that before. I had a choice. And the choice was, do I want music or don't I? Now, was it easy for me to stop putting music on and say I didn't really want music anyway? But I really did want music at the front. I think it sets the tone. So what I did was I kept it in my back burner, and I kept Googling to find out other people are doing this, therefore I'm not the only one with the problem. If other people are doing this, it means other people had a problem doing it. Therefore, I've just got to Google it, and I'm going to find the answer eventually. So I did. I started Googling it. And then one day I Googled it, and boom, I found the answer. And the answer was so simple once I knew it. And the answer was that I merely had to say, yes, I do have the rights to use it. And then you had to click a couple of more things, which of course I had fear about when I didn't know the facts. I had fear about, so I wasn't clicking them, but I had to click a couple of things. And then it came up with an explanation panel where you type in, and the reason I have permission, because it's your music and you told me to use it, and it's royalty free. Now again, there's only one way I'm going to find that out, right? I mean, it sounds good in practice, but is it true? And the only way you find out is by trying it. So a couple of videos ago, I put the music on it, and guess what? They complained. And so I went back and I said what I had learned, and said, well, actually, yes, I do have permission, because it's your library and you told me, yeah, da 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 da, and therefore it's good. And what amazed me, absolutely amazed me, was they cleared it immediately. And they've cleared everyone since. So the fact that I put up a video with music in it, to you is frustrating, because you couldn't hear what I was saying, and I apologize for that, and I'm fixing that. But here's the thing, for me, it was hugely rewarding. I had overcome a fear. I didn't quit. I kept researching until I found the answer. And so, thank you for hanging in there with me. Thank you for letting me know where it works and where it doesn't. Because it's a bit like us trying out Vaughan TV. Because that's how I learn. I learn by doing. I don't know about the rest of you, but yeah, I'm learning as I go. And that's how I've lived my life. I keep the goal in front of me, and I keep trying to take the next little step, like Leslie. You know, I had to overcome going through the door like Leslie, which was to even get onto YouTube. You know, I've had to keep taking those little steps that Leslie keeps talking about. And when you add up all that stuff together, it's called experience. And really, when I look at it now, it's quite funny. Because I guess in the big scheme of things, I'm beginning to look like I know what I'm doing. Go figure it. I have got to the stage where 153,000 views later, I'm beginning to know what I'm doing. But how many times did I have to get this wrong to get it right? How many times have I had to overcome my fear to get here? And so, as we talk about this week, I want you to have a look at your fear. And I want to ask you, what did you do to research it a bit today? What did you do to take the next little step today? What experience did you do? Or did you just say, oh, I'm scared of that, therefore I'm not doing it? You see, if you said that, it means you don't really want to do it. The reason that I keep taking the steps forward on the videos is I really want to do it. I don't just really want to do it, I'd like to do it well. Make sense? And because that is my truth, I will keep making mistakes. The day I stop making mistakes is the day that I stop wanting to do it. I wonder if that makes sense. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, yay. Let's do it. Bye for now.